all to our speaker for today, Mrs. Smita Tripathi, who is a remedial therapist and a special education consultant. Mrs. Smita comes with more than 15 years of experience in skill development and teacher training programs in mainstream schools and therapy centers. She thrives to orient parents, school administrators, and teachers to promote and enhance acceptance of children with special needs in inclusive schools through her training and coaching practices. Mrs. Smita also has extensive experience in classroom administration, planning, and implementing of student support service projects in schools. It is a pleasure to have you with us, ma'am. Now, before we move on further, I'd like to remind all the participants that the workshop is for 2 hours, where we'll have 1 hour of speaker sharing, followed by 1 hour of question and answer segment. During the session, the chat settings will be moved to hosts and panelists. Wishing you all a very happy learning. Over to you, Smita ma'am.
Thanks a lot, Disha. It's a beautiful experience this end too, to be a part of the webinar series. So let's start the topic for today. As you all can see, the topic for today's webinar is improving arithmetic skills in children with special needs. A warm welcome to everyone present here. So let's take a quick recap of the previous webinar. The previous webinar helped us understand the basic arithmetic skills of addition and subtraction. It also gave us an insight into what should be the concepts or prerequisites, you all can say, for teaching addition and subtraction. We also took a closer look and saw and discussed the kind of challenges that children with special needs may face in the classroom, at home, while learning these concepts. And the most important part of the webinar was discussing techniques and strategies to teach addition and subtraction to children with special needs. On similar line, today, what we will see is how multiplication and division as basic arithmetic skills should be done in the classroom. We will understand the prerequisites, the concepts that a child should learn before we begin multiplication and division, so that the journey of learning these operations are smooth. Also, challenges we will discuss that children with special needs face in learning multiplication and division. And the most important part of the webinar, again, the techniques and strategies that we all can use in the classroom with all the children, so that multiplication and division isn't difficult. Even if it is, the process becomes smooth, the experience is enriching. So multiplication and division, like we know, are the basic arithmetic skills. Here, the idea is to help children understand the very basic of what multiplication does. It means adding equal groups. And what division does, it distributes a group of things into equal shares. So why is learning multiplication and division important? We know as educators and parents that the basic arithmetic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division is the base of anything. It lays the foundation for the math skill that the children learn in future in the higher grades. If these skills are placed well, as in if the child learns them well, then they become the foundation for learning the difficult and complex math skills like algebra and fractions. Also, they are definitely connected to what the child is going to learn in middle and high school. So like we know, it becomes the basic building block. And it also promotes the number sense. So while we do multiplication, division, in fact, even addition and subtraction, we deal with numbers. So when I say number sense, what I mean here is the child learns to manipulate numbers, understand big and small between the numbers. They understand big, greater than, lesser than, a number, what comes before the number, what comes after the number, even numbers, counting them, So all these tasks are promoted when indirectly when we do multiplication and division. And they also become important skills for problem solving. We all will agree that we cannot skip math, because math becomes a part of everyday activity that we do. So we see glimpses of math in simple tasks like when we calculating price and ordering food, while purchasing goods or groceries in the supermarket, calculating discounts and offers, if you need to avail them, working out the days of the week, the months or the year, simple things like, birthday, calculating who's bigger than whom, how many, the age difference. Children do a lot of these. They indulge in such task. Also for simple things like, if you have a guest, laying the number of plates on the table, how many, the amount of cutlery that's going to go on the table. So all this needs simple multiplication, sometimes division, calculating profit, expenses, and everyday math. So what we mean here is the child or me and you should be able to do all of this without using a gadget like calculator or technology. So basic thing, we call it the foundation skills of math, which we all should be aware of because they are being used in day-to-day life. Something as beautiful as when you travel outside and you have to calculate the exchange rates. Even for that, how much money to spend, if it's an expensive country, if it's not an expensive country. For all of this, all kind of calculation, we need multiplication and division skills. So coming to the first part of the topic, as in teaching multiplication and division. Prerequisites. Like I say, prerequisites are the concepts that we teach children before we begin with the main topics, so that the process of learning, for example, multiplication and division here, is smooth. We just don't overnight start the topic. Anyways, the process of multiplication and division is learned over a period of time. Like maybe we begin in the later part of grade 2 and it's covered in grade 3, grade 4, and grade 5. So what are the prerequisites that we actually teach children? So a strong knowledge of place value, that's the first thing. So place value is something that we teach them when they are in, in the preschool or towards the end of the preschool, maybe in the beginning of the grade 1. Why do we need place value? Because when we deal with multiplication and division, we split the numbers as per the place value. We look for their factors, the divisibility and everything. So place value, understanding of the place value comes in picture first. We definitely go ahead and teach them multiplication and division facts. So I repeat, teaching multiplication and division facts, which also means teaching multiplication tables. So what are facts? These are nothing but equations, like the table, the math table. Okay, so 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4. So these are basic facts that the children learn. Of course, it's part of multiplication, but it's not something that children are expected to memorize. Okay, so these facts need to be taught, simple facts, in the process while they are about to learn multiplication and division, because these become again the stepping stone in learning. And once you introduce them to the concepts of division and multiplication facts, memorizing multiplication tables become easy. Counting backwards, counting forwards. In fact, building on their counting skills, like counting in 2s, 5s, 10s, and other multiples. Because when we're trying to recollect the factors, we're trying to check the divisibility, we definitely do a lot of we use a lot of counting skills. The next one is the familiarity with addition and subtraction processes and facts. Like we will see multiplication and division facts in this webinar. There are also addition and subtraction facts that we had seen in the previous one. So familiarity with those facts, addition and subtraction facts, will found again a base to learn multiplication and division, like the number bonds that we do. So if they know one number bond, they'll be able to know the other 3 also. Ability to make groups of equal sizes and then add them. So even before they learn multiplication, somewhere the child should be able to understand that, yes, how to make smaller groups, how to put equal things in the small groups, and maybe even adding all the objects in those groups before we start with multiplication. I'll extend maybe one more thing that we can add here is teaching them the notion of fairness, basically the idea of sharing equally, which will help as a foundation for learning division. So these are the prerequisites. Now that we know what should be the concepts that we should deal with before we move to multiplication and division, let's also understand what will be the challenges or what are the challenges that our children with special needs are facing in their day-to-day classroom setup, when they're learning multiplication and division. Here, can I request the audience, the participants here, to maybe type in certain challenges that they feel their children are facing in the classroom. I will definitely discuss a few of them here. So let's see what are the kind of challenges that you see your children facing in the classroom, or as parents see your child facing at home when you're teaching them multiplication and division.
So we have some participants who are saying story sums. Some have also mentioned application of formula, understand number and quantity, difficulty in learning tables and word problems.
Totally.
Unable to perform multiplication despite of being in a higher grade, fractions, sequence,
and so these are all the topics. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Disha. Yes, this is the broader, scenario, as in, yes, the bigger picture, wherein we don't know why they are not able to do multiplication, division. There are quite a few more challenges, that needs to be observed because they are the red flags. These are the challenges that help us understand that, yes, the children have some kind of concern, maybe. Okay, so let's see what are the challenges that they face. Beginning with difficulty in understanding key vocab. So when I say key vocabulary here, any concept related vocabulary that you're using or you intend to, like when it comes to multiplication and division, we use multiplicand, the product, we use the dividend, the divisor, we use remainders. So all these terms become very, it's difficult for the child to remember and apply, as in when using, they're not able to use these terms. They don't even get the meaning of these terms. So one is, yes, the vocab part of the math. Next is the reasoning operations, involved. So for them to understand, for example, multiplication. The multiplication, the origin lies in the addition, repeated addition, right? So for them to understand that multiplication is nothing but repeated addition. The origin of division lies in sharing, dividing, distributing in equal parts. So these kind of reasoning skills the children lack. They have poor speed while performing, while calculating, answering question, even in understanding the question that you read or you kind of, expect them to solve. So speed in terms of solving, understanding, accuracy while they're solving, and fluency. So fluency is like, able to recollect the math fact. For example, you've taught them any number plus zero is the same number. Zero has no value, So these kind of facts for them to remember fluently and to recollect while they are solving math is difficult. They also have poor mental math skills. So calculating the small things, for which you don't need paper, pencil, for which, you don't need aids. You can just remember that, yes, for example, adding the same number again is double the number. So 2 plus 2 is 4. Something as simple as that. So for them, doing the mental math is difficult. Also, difficulty in application of arithmetic concepts in real life situation. Howsoever you've taught them addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, when it comes to real life application, for example, they are in class, they have to, they carrying chocolates, it's their birthday. So they won't understand how to distribute equally, maybe the chocolates among the class, how to, apply these skills that they've learned in math in daily life. They also have difficulty understanding the concept of number sense. So like we discussed, counting, comparing numbers, place value, these are all basic number sense activities which children lack. And because of this, there is a vast knowledge gap that's seen in the classroom. So maybe here we are frustrated, or the child is frustrated because the child is unable to learn. But the main reason behind this is that the child has not even so far gained or mastered the number sense. So because of that, the knowledge gap or the learning gap comes in picture. difficulty in grouping numbers. So when we group numbers, when we're multiplying and dividing, we may group numbers based on the factors, the prime numbers together, or the multiples of 5 or 10 together. So for them to easily put all this in groups, manipulating numbers again is difficult. Poor working memory. Multiplication and division, like we know, is difficult because it is a lengthy thing. It has a lot of steps that needs to be done, a lot of working that happens in the memory. You need to keep some in the memory, again, like take it from there, put it back, when you're adding it with the next number. So here a lot of give and take happens with the working memory, which for children with special needs is very difficult. So we will see how to jog their memory in the webinar. But yes, so this is one of the difficulty. Parallelly with remediation, we also work on the memory skills of the child, so that yes, it becomes easy for them to use their memory when it comes to doing math. Difficulty in associating symbols with the procedure. So simple thing, I mean, we may feel, this is plus, right? You're unable to understand that this is addition and a cross means multiplication. But for them, the orientation of an addition symbol and an multiplication symbol may more or less look same. So isn't that easy? So we shouldn't, overestimate or underestimate their skills. We should just clearly understand what the challenges are, and then accordingly revise or improvise on our teaching skills, our teaching aids. So these are some of the challenges that children with special needs in the classroom do face. Also remember to rule out other difficulties. Like I always say, maybe sometimes it's absenteeism, maybe change of school, change of board, or maybe poor curriculum in the past because of which the child is unable to learn math. So these factors should be ruled out before we actually, say that yes, this child has math concerns because of special needs. Okay. So now the next one, teaching multiplication and division facts. So we've seen one part of preparing them for multiplication and division, wherein we've seen the prerequisites. Now that we know their challenges, okay, we'll keep them in mind, and we will move on to understanding what are the facts, multiplication and division facts that we can teach them, so that multiplication and division learning becomes easy. I call them magic wands. So basically these are those tricks, that you can teach them, and they go a long way in helping them. So teaching multiplication and division facts, what I'm talking about here is the multiplication tables or the times table, like we call them. We need to first make a note of the fact that memorizing is not understanding. Okay, so sometimes we just give them the whole chart, maybe, or give them written work, or make them repeat it a number of times, and assume that yes, the child will learn multiplication and division, the multiplication tables just like that. No, always remember that teaching comes before memorizing. So when I say teaching, we have to also show them the concepts that go behind these facts, so that memorizing is not difficult. Yes, they have to memorize, I'm not denying that, but that's after they've understood the concept. Imagine a child is memorized and somewhere the child is not able to recollect anything, okay, while they're solving. So they're stuck. But what happens if they know the concept behind it? They may use a different technique to recollect or try another method to actually calculate. So break the facts into manageable chunks. So while they're learning, how can we do that? Maybe we can use the easier facts first, which becomes the stepping stone to learn the difficult fact. So easier facts can be 0 times a number, 1 time. So basically 1 times a number is how much, okay? 10 times, 11 times. So these are easy facts. A child can just learn with, of course, our teaching. And then that can be an aid that they can remember, a trick, a fact that they can remember while they're doing the problems. Math facts make facts concrete for them. So concrete how is, for example, if you know array, okay, and if you use an array while teaching multiplication facts, the child can actually see what is happening in the table. So it becomes a visual aid for them, a aid that they can see. So visual learners, auditory learners, and maybe sometimes even do certain math with them while teaching number facts with help of manipulatives, so that they know what multiplication ends up with. Okay, so memorize the facts in strategic order. So don't randomly give any table to learn. Make sure that you've gone one by one, step by step, first given them easy ones, then moved on to the difficult ones. And for the difficult ones, we can also use certain tricks and facts. Okay, we'll see that. So now that we've spoken about how and why is teaching multiplication facts as in times table important, we will move on to see what is multiplication and what can be the strategies that we can use to teach them multiplication. So multiplication is combining groups of equal sizes, like we highlighted before. A child's first understanding of multiplication is repeated addition. So never ever, just bring in multiplication, not connecting it with addition. Always remember to help them understand that yes, multiplication is nothing but repeated addition. Okay, once they've understood the concept, how will they understand the concept? Of course, through manipulatives, like we always say, use hands-on activities, build the concept. Okay, the child needs to have they need to experience what multiplication is and only then move to the next part of it. So here, when you read out a multiplication problem for them, so we need to be very careful. You need to say 3 into 4 means 4 plus 4 plus 4 is something that we understand. But for the child to understand, we need to say, so 4 3 times. Okay. Another way of saying this could be 3 groups of 4. So when you repeat this, when you say this, there is definitely a equation that's forming in the mind of the child. They understand how does a multiplication equation look like, and what does it mean. So here are examples that you all can see. This is array. This actually helps them understand that, okay, five groups of 2, or maybe 8 groups of 3. So grouping as a technique to show them what multiplication looks like, and repeated addition. So repeated addition is making groups of the number that we are looking for. So here we have 4, okay, groups of 3 teddies each in them. So you've highlighted the multiplication, the concept, you've helped them actually experience the concept of multiplication through manipulatives. You've helped them understand how does an equation of multiplication sound, or how to say it. Now, they also need to understand that multiplication can be written in 3 different ways. So this is one way of writing multiplication, the horizontal method. This is the vertical method. You have to see the placement. You have to actually use a lot of schemas, anchor charts to help them understand that yes, multiplication looks like this. Use a lot of flashcards. Okay, use worksheets with things that they like, and then slowly fade off those things later, so that the focus is on the presentation of the number here. Sometimes in higher grades, even 4.3 or an asterisk mark in between the numbers also mean multiplication. So expose these things depending on the grade of the child. So wait, see the understanding, see how applicable right now the thing is, and only then expose it, or maybe indulge teaching this to the child. We also teach them the vocab, the multiplicand, multiplier, factor, product. So these go on your word wall. They should also go as word games, word search, or maybe like who's the missing one? I have a product, you have a multiplier. So who has the multiplicand? So indulge in a lot of games so that for especially children who have language concerns, so that they get hang of these words before even they start multiplication, before even they know how to do it. So it's like before you make sentences in a language, you know the vocab, you at least know what yes, these vocab means, so that you can put them together in a sentence and come up with a beautiful sentence. So before we understand the steps, the syntax, we need to know the words. The key focus, now be it division or multiplication or any operation that we teach them, the key focus, like in all our webinars that we've discussed, is to start with concrete, move on to representational, and then the abstract form. So concrete is the manipulative state. So we use a lot of hands-on activities. We use everything that's available in the house, in the classroom, easy things, something that you don't have to buy, colors, cubes, things in kitchen, their toys, everything can be used as concrete teaching aid. So concrete stage is the learning stage. So here they are learning the concept. Okay, they are trying to experience the concept. Then comes the representational stage. So once the child is strong here, we move them slowly to representational. It is nothing but the picture form of whatever the child has been using or what the child likes. So this is a bit abstract, but not very, very difficult, because we've just moved on from concrete to representational stage. So here we can bring in worksheets, we can ask them to draw, we can, do games with them wherein they have pictures and they have to solve the problem, multiplication or division. And then finally moving on to the abstract stage. So representational stages wherein they are mastering the concept that they have learned. They are again and again using the concept which they understand here while doing it in this form. And then finally abstract stage wherein they are just pure dealing with numbers, equations, and formulas. So this needs a lot of logical thinking, a lot of abstract thinking. So prep the child slowly, be around when the child is doing it, do it with the child, do it on the blackboard, on the worksheet with the child, and slowly wean off the help so that the child can do it on their own. So this, remember, should always be the key focus. Okay. So yes, now we'll begin and see, we'll start and see how and what can go as the learning, the facts. Okay. So now here, the first fact that we see, or the strategy that we can teach them, is the zero property. So what is the zero property? Make it interesting. We don't have to just tell them, okay, any number multiplied by zero is zero. So no, so make it interesting. For example, your zero is the hero. Okay, you can also make a tool wherein zero, wherever you see zero, zero takes over the other number and zero is the answer. Okay, so when you indulge in such games and give this, anyways, you're going to do this pretty early, because this goes as a prep stage for the child before they begin multiplication. So teach them the zero property in an interesting way. This one is the one property. So the identity property, we call it, because any number multiplied by one is the same number, right? Again, it's not that easy for a child to understand. So make an interesting teaching aid wherein you've put the rule, maybe put it on the math wall, give it to them as a bookmark or a tool that they can use while they are multiplying, a handy tool. Okay, this is one. I have a magic wand. This multiplied by any number, the answer is the number. Okay, the same number. Play games like that with them. This is your visual model to help a child understand the math facts. So multiplication tables. So see, once we sit with a child and show them this, the commutative property of multiplication. So what this property says is switching the order of the multiplicand and the multiplier, or the factors, doesn't make a difference in the answer. Now this is complicated for understand, but yes, when you show them, okay, so this is an array, 8 into 2. Okay, so when it's rotated and it becomes 2 into 8, still the answer remains the same. Ask them to count. Okay, so when they count, they understand, yes, 8 groups of 2 is equal to 16, whereas 2 groups of 8 is also equal to 16. When they've learned this visually, they've learned it with a manipulator, it's difficult for them to forget. It becomes like a added visual memory. So it supports their memory and it helps them recollect when they come across something like this. This also improves the confidence in children, because they feel, okay, if you've learned some part of math facts, the other part is the same. Okay, so if you've learned 2 tables, you also know some part of the 8 table. So make it easy so that they gain confidence because of such aids or the magic wands, like I said, the commutative property, the zero property, and the identity property. Now, this one is the associative property. So associative property helps us understand, it shows that the way in which the numbers are grouped does not change their product. Okay. Again, if it's said or if it's just written, it makes no sense to the children. So how do we show them? Again, array comes in picture. Okay. So this is 10 groups of 2, okay, into 3. Right, and here 10 into 2 into 3. So basically what we've done is, here first we are multiplying 10 times 2 and then multiplying it with 3, whereas you are multiplying again 2 times 3 and then multiplying it with 10. A better example here for you to understand, this can go as a teaching aid, and here what we're trying to show the child is that irrespective of the way we've grouped the numbers, So you can just multiply 4 and 5 first, or you can multiply 3 and 4, whatever is the final product, the answer remains the same. You may wonder why, this may be difficult, but no, when you go with the flow, introduce the associative property and do questions related to this, it makes a lot of sense. The next one that we've discussed is the distributive property. Now, this again is another important fact that if they are able to recollect, calculation becomes easy. How? Okay. I'm sorry, how? We use the distributive property to break apart the larger arrays into two smaller arrays for easier computation. So what do we see here? We see a bigger array, okay? So for example, what I mean is 6 times 4. What if the child, it finds it difficult? So we break the array into smaller one, okay? And then calculate it. Let me show you here with this example. So we have 6 times 8 is equal to what? Okay, the child is maybe not aware of the 8th table here. So what we can do is to make it easier, we can break 8 into two easier number bonds that we've done before while doing addition and subtraction facts, if you all remember. So 8 can be made out of 5 plus 3. All right. So what does the distributive property says? The distributive property says that 6 needs to be equally given to 5 and 3 both. Okay, because we've split 8 as 5 plus 3. So 6 into 5, 6 into 3. And when we add 30 plus 18, the answer is 48. We can always continue, this is needed in higher grades when they're doing variables. Here we know the number, okay, so it's still easy. You may not use the distributive property, you may just multiply. But when you go in higher grades and you have to do variables wherein you don't know the value, for example, 6 into a plus b, or 6 times a plus b. So there is when you have to apply the distributive property. So make sure you introduce, see if the child is able to grasp and use it. Some children definitely find it interesting because 8 as a number they may not like. Maybe they think it's difficult. So they are ready to split and then work out the rest of the steps. Okay, those were certain facts, strategies that we saw. Let's also understand some of the methods that we can use in multiplication. Instead of just asking them to recollect the times table and multiply. For example, 4 times 4. Come on, tell me, what is 4 times 4? 16. No. So we are not directly asking them to multiply. What we can do is we can use these beautiful methods of multiplication for smaller numbers so that they get hang of what the concept of multiplication is, what exactly happening is in multiplication. Once they get the concept, then we can slowly move to bigger numbers and wherein they can actually just recollect the facts through the mental math or through memory techniques and do the calculation. So the first thing that here is the method of multiplication that we're discussing is repeated addition. Now, very simple because this is exactly how we've introduced multiplication to children. So 4 times 4 is 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. And then once you add, it's 16. A lot of children like actually doing repeated addition even at a later stage. Okay, because of the difficulty of recollecting math facts. This is a sign that the child is not very comfortable with math facts. Maybe simultaneously, parallelly, you can begin the work of teaching or revising the math facts with them more often. Another technique that we can use is the skip counting. Now, skip counting is a bit abstract compared to the repeated addition, but again, because they've been using it for subtraction and multiplication, it isn't very difficult. Now, what does skip counting look like in multiplication? The first number here says the number of jumps that you're going to take on the number line. And the second number tells you how long your jump is going to be. Okay, so once you've done the number line with them, they know how to draw it. Also, they need to learn the skip jumping here, skip numbers here with the help of the number line. Do it, model how to do it, even if they've done it in addition and subtraction, because it is a bit different when it comes to multiplication. Just understanding the concept. The idea or the process of skipping is the same, but definitely applying it with the concept of multiplication is something that we have to do, and we have to verbally talk about it, and show it to them. The next technique that we can introduce or use while teaching multiplication or practicing multiplication is the arrays. Like I said, arrays is a beautiful model. Okay, it actually shows us through here the objects are arranged in rows and columns depending upon the the numbers. Okay, so 3 rows of 2 objects, which mean 3 times 2. Okay, so we have 2 objects here in 3 rows. So 3 into 2 is equal to 6. So here they've seen, they've counted, and then they've actually filled this equation. So they know what multiplication looks like. Array helps us show it to them. Arrays can also be done through these cross marks, wherein you've just made crosses depending upon 4, 3. So 4 times 3. So 4 rows here and 3 columns. So this is how there are line arrays too. If you all Google, line arrays are wherein you have to teach them how to draw the lines and horizontally and vertically, and wherever the lines intersect, the child can count the number of intersections and give you the answer. Now, why our arrays are also important is because they form the base for area. So later in math, in higher grades, when they're learning area, the array technique is definitely going to help them. In fact, if we go back to the previous slides, we've also seen that array was used to help them understand the property of association, distributive property of multiplication, and associative property of multiplication. So it is that handier tool. Make sure that you make good use of it in the classroom with your children. The next strategy or the multiplication technique or a visual aid that we can give our children is the grouping strategy. So what happens in a grouping strategy? Again, we have to make groups here a bit easier. So because now, for example, 4 times 3. So 4 is the number of groups that we've made, and every group is going to have 3 crosses here or 3 objects. So you can make it interesting by, introducing things like this: cupcakes, stickers, drawings. In fact, this can also be done with manipulatives. Like I said, the first stage, the concrete stage, use manipulatives. Come to the picture stage, the pictorial stage, wherein you can use such crosses, you can use cupcakes, stickers, worksheets, and then finally moving on to the equation stage. Now that you deal with grouping strategies, you've taught them how to do this, you would also want to invest a bit in the number bonds, because number bonds have also been done with them while teaching them addition and subtraction facts, right? So number bonds is something that they are familiar. And if not, you can also introduce them here. It's a bit different than the grouping strategy. Here we have a bigger group, okay? The bigger number here, the product, which is the answer. And these are the this part of the equation. So 4 times, okay? So we have 4 smaller groups of 3 each. So when we count or add all of these, they together make this bigger number. So that's the bond. This particular number can be made with these numbers. All right. So here, see, we've helped them understand that 12 can be made with 3 times 4, 15 can be made with 5 times 3, 24 can be made 4 times 6. So this is how number bond helps them recollect the math facts, learn multiplication tables. Okay, the next model is the tape model or the bar model. It is a highly a popular model that's being used in many countries. Now, why is this used? Because along with being a visual model, okay, it can be used for multiple operations. Like we can use it for subtraction, addition, multiplication, and even division. It is a beautiful thing while teaching them word problems, because it makes understanding the narration of the word problems a bit easier. So here, if we have to explain for you, it's that this entire thing is the answer, the product, okay? And then the groups here, the parts here is the number of times, and the number inside is the how many does each part consist of. Okay, so this entire thing is the product. You can use it. There are a lot of web videos which are available online, which will help you, a lot of websites which will help you understand how to use a tape model or a bar model in your classroom. It is time consuming, so we'll not go too much into it, but do try if you find it interesting and if your child can actually connect with this model and use them. The next one is the grid chart. Now, if we focus on the grid chart here, the grid chart is something wherein all the multiplication facts, okay, that the times table or the multiplication table is visual, okay, it's given, it's written in an organized form. So this helps children understand the pattern. It helps them understand, what is it into what is equal to what. And in fact, even they can cut some of strike off some of the multiplication facts that they know already from the chart. In fact, it's a very good suggestion that even if your child is learn the tables, keep it handy. There's no harm keeping it somewhere in the room, because the more they visit the grid chart, the more they see it, the more it's easy for them to recollect the facts. And it's a kind of a learning. You are insisting, you are indirectly working on the learning of the facts. Okay, coming to the bigger tables. Okay, so for example, table of 9. Now what happens here is, okay, let me use annotate and show you here. Okay, so maybe learning a math table is a bit difficult, the bigger one especially. So what we can do is we can, teach them to use finger tricks. Now, see, it becomes a bit boring, okay? If you have just taught them things on paper and done it with, let them experience a fun trick. So how do we do this? We can find out any multiple of 9 here. How? Okay, focus on this particular image. Okay, I call it number 1. So first you need to keep your hands together like this. Okay, start ascribing values on your fingers. Begin with this thumb finger. So beginning this you label as 1. This becomes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, continue. Okay, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now that you've labeled your fingers, okay, you've labeled your hand, you know what value each finger is equal to. The next step is to understand how do we find out the multiple of 9. So in this particular question, wherein 9 times 4 is something that we want to know. All right, so let's maybe move to the first image here. So 4, where was number 4 in our hands? The number 4 was here on this finger, okay? So what we need to understand is the numbers before the number that you're looking for, okay? These fingers, these are your tens place, okay? Answer for your tens place. And all the other fingers after your factor that you're looking for. So in our case, 4 is something we're looking for, 9 times 4, right? So 1, 2, and 3. So 3 is the number of fingers in the tens place. So the answer, okay? So if you're writing the answer, 3 goes in the tens place, okay? And to know what will go in the ones place, we have to count the fingers after 4. So after 4, how many fingers do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 9 times 4 is 36. Okay, hope I haven't confused you. You can see this here. Okay, this is a clear image. So 4 is here. The number of fingers before 4 is 3. So that makes it to 3 tenths. And the number of fingers after 4 is 6. So that makes it to 6 units. So 36 is the final answer, right? Okay, maybe we can do one more example here. Say 9 times 7 is something that we looking for. Okay, again, going back to our image here, let's do it on this particular image. So what will we do? We first need to know where is number 7. So we've numbered all our fingers in this fashion, the same fashion. Okay, so here is number 7. So now we know all the numbers that come before number 7 is the value for our tens digit, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 6 goes in our tens digit, okay? And in the ones digit, all the rest of the fingers after 7. So we just have 3 fingers left here, 8, 9, and 10. So that makes it 3. So 6 and 3, 63. So 9 times 7 is 63. So when you teach such tricks to your children, memorizing math facts like nines table becomes easy. We also have such tricks for 6 times, 7 times, 8 times, and 9 times, like I said, tables. If you all Google, you will again get. The only difference is the way you label, the way you number your fingers is a bit different. Never introduce both together, work on one when the child is used to it and the child is using it. Only then if you feel the need, or if you think the child loves this technique and can absorb the next technique to do with finger tricks also, introduce it and make sure that they use it in the classroom. Always be around, like I said, model. Never just, like I've shown you, never just give them and assume that the child will comprehend. We have to do it together with them 3 times, 10 times, and then maybe you can see that, yes, it's working and the child is able to do it herself or himself. So this was to do with finger tricks. The next one is finding pattern. Okay, now again, a child who has very good visual skills, okay, somebody who can identify the difference, spot the difference, find out the similarities. When you work on the perceptual skills of the children, you will definitely be aware that yes, this particular child has good perceptual skills. So for children with strong perceptual skills, you can also use these techniques called as finding patterns. Okay, again, if I show you here, we will see that yes, patterns as in twos table, the numbers repeat. Okay, see, the numbers repeat. Yes, 2, 2, 4, 4, 6, 6, 8, 8. So this makes memorizing the math fact easy. It helps them remember. They can even reproduce it in some part of the paper and then solve the question that they're doing it. Okay, this continues. Also, if you see in threes table, this is the kind of pattern, okay, that's seen. So now this again makes recollecting the process or learning the process of multiplication, the number facts easy. Like this, all the tables have some trick, some pattern that you can actually sit with your child, highlight, show it to them, keep them handy, keep them in front of them so that they see it more often and they recollect. Like I said, it's good for somebody with very good visual perceptual skills. The next is the multi-digit. Now let's go ahead and see some bit of the multi-digit part. Okay, for example, what do we do if we have bigger factors? Of course, the technique here, okay, breaking factors into smaller factors is one of the strategy that we can teach them. So 8 times 5, if the child isn't aware of the 8th times table, we split. Okay, what do we know? How many times 8? In what do we know any other way of making 8? Yes, 2 times 4 maybe is 8. Okay, so 2 times 4 into 5. And now here comes the associative property. So we can multiply numbers in any order and we get the same answer. So 5 times 4 is 20 and 20 into 2 is 40. That's how they reach the answer. Let me show this in a bigger number. So when a bigger number like this comes, 103 into 9, a child may find it difficult to deal with 103. Instead, it's easier for them to deal with 103 together, which makes 103. So 100 into 9, 3 into 9, and then you get the answer. Now, what's important here is that the child has used the distributive property and has solved the question. Okay, so this is how we can help them with bigger numbers. Coming to the traditional method of the traditional algorithm of multiplication, here we will not get into how do we actually learn or teach multiplication. Okay, the step remains the same. What you know, what I know is the same. What we can hear, the takeaway here should be that yes, we can introduce the child to certain mnemonics. For example, the mnemonics here is many zoo, many animals. So M is multiply, Z is 0, M is multiply, and A is add. So if the child remembers this mnemonic, many zoo, many animals, they remember the steps indirectly, that first you need to multiply, then you need to add a 0, and then again you need to multiply, and then eventually you need to add. So these are the steps. What you can also see here is that it's color coded. So every step is color coded. The first step is in red, the next one is in blue, the third one is in green, and then the pink. Why are we doing color coding? So while the child is making a schema of this or the image of this in the mind, the child is able to, the colors help the child focus. So when we're doing the first step, the red color helps focus, then the blue and green, and accordingly. So yes, here what we are learning is that the traditional algorithm steps remain same. We have to go through the process, don't worry. But remember that we can make it a bit simple by using mnemonics, by using color coding, and see if the child can remember and apply the steps. Coming to the word problems. Word problems, go slow, go easy, do it with something that the child is aware of. For example, everyday scenario, okay? Make word problems that they can connect with, that is easy to understand. See, because only if you understand the language can you understand the number, and then is when you apply the operation on the number. So use easy problems and then eventually build on the difficulty. Okay, help them identify. While you're talking about multiplication, even in your own language, you can use words like lots of, groups of, each, all together, total, in all, product, multiply, twice. So when they hear it more often while they're doing multiplication, they can connect that these words indirectly hint that multiplication is something that we're thinking of. Multiplication is something that's needed to be done. They think of the operation, the symbol of multiplication. Okay, now here is a small example of how do we actually solve it in simple steps. Okay, it is very basic, but trust me, sometimes even this, if done in the right way, go a long way in doing difficult word problems. The first step here is to identify the numbers. Okay, firstly, like I said, keep the problem simple. It should be an everyday thing, maybe a classroom scenario, a birthday. Like here we have, there are 3 tables and there are 3 children on each table, something that they've seen, something that they can relate with. So first is identify the number in the question. The child should be able to, the child should be able to actually identify that, yes, this is the number. Okay, that, okay, you can maybe color code, highlight in the beginning so that it becomes easy for child to visually look into where is the number. It's not difficult for them to find the number, track the number. Identify which of these numbers tell us how many there are in each group. So each group, okay, 6 children on each table. So each is a word that tells you that how many will go. So this number indicates each. Okay, so the group is going to be made up of these many. Okay, every group is going to have 6 each. Next, identify which of these numbers tell us how many groups are there. So how many groups? There are 3 tables. So maybe the group here, table indicates group. Okay, so help them draw, help them write, help them make patterns so that they through, this can also be done, like I said, through the bar model, through number bonds, through repeated addition, if it's just the beginning of teaching them word problems or multiplication. So show them visually, only then the child understands and doesn't get scared of the word problems, and then they will be able to sit with you, put that amount of effort, understand what you're saying, give it, here, listen, and then perceive and comprehend and break. See, there are so many things that the child has to do, right? So we have to go easy, be with the child. Don't look for the end process. Be happy if your child is learning step. Every step that the child is learning is a big achievement. So focus on every step that you're teaching. Eventually, we can see them solving the word problem. Okay, so now division. Let's focus on division. This is a bit easy to understand because we've seen so many facts and multiplication strategies and understood methods. Okay, so what is division? Division is one of the 4 basic operations of arithmetic. Okay, important one, which we should not miss on. Some or the other way definitely is there to help a child understand this. It is a method of dividing or distributing a number into equal parts. Teach them equal sharing. Start with repeated addition. So subtraction. So if they have to take away, like, okay, make 2 sets of 4 can be subtracted. So first you take away 4 and then what's left is 4, and then you also take away 4. So that way you have equally divided this into 2 parts. Equal sharing, give 1 each to maybe it's stars that need to be given to 4 children. So you first give 1 to each of them and then 1 to the rest of them. So that way you've equally shared 2 stars each among 4 students, wherein you had 8 stars. So like in multiplication, we have to get them used to the idea of seeing how does a division problem look like. Okay, so focus on this part of it, that this symbol is division, the equation looks like this. Okay, it can also be one above the other, 20 divided by 4. Okay, it can also be in this fashion. So all this comes as a picture memory. Use flashcards. When you're using one technique, focus on that, only then introduce the next one. Also, it's grade appropriate, age appropriate. So a lot of factors come in picture, which you need to consider. Introduce these words, make these words friendly through all the techniques that we discussed in multiplication. So dividend, quotient, divisor, remainder, all words they should get hang of. Coming to the division facts, okay, like we did the multiplication facts, we have to teach them division by 1, okay, division by itself. So a number divided by itself is always equal to 1, something that you can use do it with manipulatives and show them. Okay, so 3 is being divided by 3 and the answer is 1. You have okay, 3 aquarium here, fish tank here, and you have 3 fish. So if you put 1 fish in each of these tanks, the answer is 1. How many fishes in each tank? 1 fish in each tank. Okay, do it with a lot of examples. Division by 1, any number divided by 1 is equal to the same number. Again, the number property, introducing this as a hero through a teaching aid or game. We have to teach them to see that, yes, if you just have 1 fish tank and you have to put 3 fishes, these need to be divided in 1 fish tank. All of 3 go together in this. So the answer is 3 here. 0 divided by any number is equal to 0. And division of any number by 0 is undefined. So once the child gets hang of these simple things in the process of division, recollecting these facts, it becomes easy, applying becomes easy, and then they don't struggle with the other numbers, which anyways they have to divide and find out the answer. So these kind of facts give them brain breaks. So brain break is something wherein your mind doesn't have to calculate, okay? In calculation, while calculating, brain breaks are moments when the child does not have to indulge in calculating. They can just recollect a fact. Maybe it's a mental memory thing, mental math thing, or a memory thing. They can just recollect and give their working memory a break, as in they don't have to do the calculation. Also teaching them facts like dividing by 1, divide by 10, and divide by 100. So these are the building blocks. These are the stepping stones we are teaching them to on the way of division. So divide by 1 is wherein you are dividing a number by 1. The number doesn't move. There are no places that a number has to move. Here, when you divide a whole number by 10, the digits move 1 place to the right. Okay, another technique is if both the sides have 0, you can just cut the 0. So here it becomes 42 divided by 1, which is any number divided by 1. It's the same number, 42. Okay, if there's no 0, we cannot cut, and then it goes into decimals and things like that. Now dividing by 100, again, if both the sides have 0, you can just slash them off, or the number moves twice ahead, 2 places in the right. So 2,500 divided by 100 is equal to 25. So they don't have to calculate. Even striking of 0 isn't needed if they remember this rule that whenever you divide a whole number by 100, the digits move 2 places to the right. These are some of the methods that we can use while we are just beginning to teach them division, or understand or help them understand the concept of division. See, the idea here is to understand why you divide, what exactly is happening to the thing that you're dividing, right? So here, how can I divide? I can draw it out. 24 divided by 3. So let's start dividing 24 in 3 parts. When we do that, eventually we have 8 groups. So we've divided 3 equally in 8 groups. Okay, how can I divide? I can also use number lines. So these are the kind of things your child will use. This will be a supportive method that you've taught them before they indulge in division or while they indulge in division, so that it's easy for them. 24 divided by 3 on a number line. They write the number line, they label the number line, and then from where they have to start is the bigger number here, 24. From here, they have to jump. How many, what will be the gap, or how many will you jump? You will jump 3 steps, and how many times will you jump is the answer. So once you reach 0, they have to count the number of times they have jumped. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 is, wow, you've jumped 8 times. So the answer is 8. So 2 techniques we've learned to help them. Okay, these are methods, strategies that we can use with division. Coming to the standard algorithm, like we saw in multiplication, let's not get into the steps here. What needs to be focused is that we can use mnemonics here. Okay, for division, you can use mnemonics like D, dad, mom, daddy, mummy, okay, sister, brother, and drawer. So this means you have to first divide, then multiply, then subtract, then borrow, and then repeat if they or remainder, whichever, and then go up again. Another way of remembering this is, does McDonald's sell burgers really? Okay, so any mnemonic like that, whichever the child can relate with and the child can easily remember, the child can use, apply it while dividing. See, it's a long thing. I'm not saying that, immediately with this, the child is going to learn division and the child is going to come out with the answer. No, what I'm trying to highlight is sometimes the child, sometimes you will see when you're teaching, when you're doing actually division with them, they get stuck. Okay, so for them to remember, even giving them a mnemonic like this, that yes, first you divide, okay, then you multiply, write the answer, subtract, okay, then you borrow, and then see what's the remainder, okay, and then again, if there is a remainder, repeat, let's go again divide, okay, and get the answer. And so it becomes easy for them to recollect the steps, which is one big help for children with special needs. Also color coding here to help them analyze that, yes, first step involves the red color, the next step, involves the green and purple, and like that. So color coding and giving them mnemonics helps in long division. Of course, still they need a lot of practice, but it definitely becomes a good aid. For children who cannot directly learn the division algorithm or the strategy, what can we do? We can introduce them to other division strategies like area model, grid model. The participants, I'm sure, the ones who've already doing a lot of math with children will agree that area model, grid model, and there are many more models like we have for even multiplication. We have lattice model, we have the product model. So don't, put too much effort to understand it right now, because we also need practice. If we are not aware of what the model works or how the model works, like, just understand that yes, there is something called as an area model or grid model. I'll just highlight maybe one problem here. So here we're trying to divide 654 by 3. So area model, you have to make the block, okay, and then you have to write the entire number here. The easiest way, whatever is the simplest factor that you can think of, okay, 3 200 times is 600. You write it down, you subtract, the remainder is taken over to the next block. Okay, 3 how many times? The easiest way to recollect for you. So 3 maybe 10 times is 30, the nearest that you can think of. Fair enough. Put 30 here, subtract 24, take it ahead. Again, 3 8 times, maybe because it's much it comes much early in the 3's table or 8 tables if you're aware. So 3 times 8 is 24, and then you're able to subtract and get the answer. In grid method, what do? Is we put each number in one block, okay, and then deal with number one by one. So see, a lot of place value and all that comes in picture. So here 3 multiplied by 2, 6. So the answer is 0. 0 is here, 5. 3 times 1 is 3. The remainder is 2. Taken over here, it becomes 24. 3 times 8 is 24. And the answer is 218. Here you have to add 200 plus 10 plus 8, which gives you 218. So we will not discuss this further, but the idea here is to put across that we have a lot of division strategies like these. We have a lot of models, and there are a lot of YouTube videos. If you like the model and if you think it's easier for your child, please go ahead, look for it, practice yourself, and then introduce it to the child so that even the child can learn it. Coming to the identification part of it, how do we actually, the word problems part of it, how do we help children solve word problems in division? So here are some of the keywords, okay, that we need to help them learn or use while we are teaching division. Share, between, evenly, equally, per person or per, split, divide, half, group. So these are the action words: split, divide, half, group. It tells you actually that this particular word problem or the operation that needed here to get the answer is division. So once you've introduced them to the terms, like we saw in multiplication, what we need to do is we need to first make sure that we give them a problem which is age appropriate, appropriate to the understanding level of the child. So once the child is able to understand is when the child will solve. Help them identify the numbers. Okay, what are the numbers in the word problem? Identify which number it is the total quantity. I have 10 sweets, okay, and this needs to be shared equally, evenly between 5 children. So yes, total number of sweets, or how many number we have, then how many groups? 5 children. So it needs to be divided among 5 children, okay, and then divide the total by the number of groups to find the answer, or divide the total by how many are needed in each group to find out the answer. So while you're teaching them word problems, please go back to repeated subtraction, equal, sharing, and all the models that we've seen, maybe number bonds, the bar model. So because when we do it and we show it to them, they understand that yes, the concept behind division here is sharing, dividing, distributing, and then they're able to understand, and then maybe they'll put in effort to do more of word problems. Okay, coming to this part of the word problem, or even any simple calculation, sometimes children with poor handwriting skills, hand motor concerns, okay, find it difficult to write the numbers in the right place, because of which a lot of mistakes happen. Since ages, graph paper have come to the rescue. Graph paper can be used with children because it helps them in alignment. So when they place the numbers, maybe calculation isn't difficult for the child. So graph paper can be used for children who just have orientation problem, aligning numbers one below the other because of perceptual issues or hand motor concerns. Also, these are called as the schemas or the diagrams. Okay, so when such diagrams are given to the children, which are color coded, especially for children who like structure, for example, children with ASD like structure. So when we introduce them to multiplication, and if you already put this kind of a structure and then put in numbers, okay, you can just begin with one part of it for single numbers, 1 digit, and then move on to a bigger structure for a 2 digit. Now, this can also be used for 3 digit. When you use this, they at least have columns ready. They have the boxes ready in place, and they have to execute, and then some form of hint is there. Yes, that you filled these, then you need to fill this, then you need to move from here to here. This again, while you practice it yourself, say it. Okay, so when you're saying it, helping them place the numbers, they also listen to what you're saying. They see what's happening, and it gives them both form of input to recollect, to learn. It can also be done with division. So we've seen facts, we've seen strategies, we've seen methods. Okay, we've also tried using some tricks and visual representation to make multiplication and division easy for our children. The last part of it, what I would want to say here is that always remember, teaching has to come before they practice. When I say this, I mean the multiplication tables or the number, the times table. Never just expect them to by heart. Nobody would want to learn it if they don't know what actually they mean. Show them through visual aids, through the concepts that we just saw. Build an understanding of the conceptual structure. Okay, so the conceptual structure is what multiplication actually is. Help them understand, help them experience division. Only then the structure or the concept gets, the structure in their mind. And then design a well-planned structure, lesson plan based on the child's need. Okay, I may have told you these many strategies, but not that you have to randomly use all of them. Design a structure, a lesson plan that you think will suit your child's need, and accordingly pick your tools and use them. Help children learn facts in a strategic order. So like we saw, the prerequisites, the facts, the tools, okay, one by one. Only when you have a strategic order, you can see that your children are at least taking small steps, but moving towards the goal. With that, we come to an end of the presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Smita, for such an insightful session. I'm sure the hands-on strategies and techniques that were shared by you is definitely going to help our carers in engaging with the children better. Now, to all our participants, before we begin the workshop, I had very briefly mentioned about a parents awareness program that you can contribute and support us with. Before we begin, can I have everyone's attention here quickly? All right. So as you may all understand that parents play a very important role in the child's overall development, and it is very crucial that we raise awareness amongst parents. The research shows that as parents become more involved and empowered in the child's education process, the outcomes for students increase. So now, for the benefit of children, it is important that we all collaborate and play a role in uplifting the community together. A parent who understands how to help a child could make a huge difference in the progress that a child makes. And one of the most effective things that we can do as a community is to help parents be more aware and be more engaged in the child's progress. So before we move any further, I have a few questions that I'd like to ask you all. So I'm going to launch the poll. I want you all to feed in your responses. Are you all ready for the first question? Okay. The first question is, how many parents do you think are aware of the challenges faced by their children in academics? Okay, I see you all feeding in your answers. Okay. Okay. All right. So most of y'all have responded to it. Requesting the participants to be a little quick in responding, please. Okay. So now most of you all have responded that at least 26 to 75% of parents are aware of the challenges. Okay. Moving on to my second question. How important do you think it is to raise awareness among parents? All right, most of y'all are responding, and this time y'all are faster. Very good. Okay. So almost everyone has said that it is extremely important. It is very important to raise awareness. Now, moving on to my final question. Do you want to raise awareness in your community? Wow. Excellent, excellent. All of y'all have been answering, responding really quickly. Great job. And almost everyone has said that yes, y'all want to participate and y'all want to raise awareness in the community. That's great. So now let's see what can we do about it. At Ability, we have launched a parents awareness program, understanding why your child is not doing well academically. This program is a compilation of 5 short videos that will help them understand why their child could be facing learning challenges and what can they do about it to help their children. Now, I have taken my first step towards creating an impact. I have created my unique link that I can share with the parents in my community to help become more aware about the academic challenges. This unique link invites parents to my personalized page, which will introduce them to the program and will also allow them to register for this program in order to be able to access these 5 short videos. So as you see, that's the registration button. Now you can do your bit as a special educator, as a therapist, as a teacher to take your first step towards becoming an influencer and making an impact. You can help the parents you know to understand about the different challenges and become a positive force in the child's progress. These video series is going to help parents become more aware and understand the academic challenges that the child could be facing and the role that they can play. For you to become an influencer, there is a simple sign-up process that we have to go through. This sign-up process includes 3 very simple steps. The first step is the sign-up step. Second one is the personalized step. And the third one is run your first campaign. So I'm going to show you a demonstration about how these 3 steps can be conducted. But for that, I want you all with me right now so that we can perform these steps together. The sign up link is being shared in the chat box right now for you to all start with the process. So are you all with me? Can we all click on the sign up link, please? All right. So once you click on the sign up link, you will be directed to the sign up page where you will be coming across the parent awareness program information. Once you click on the link, you will find various details about the program, the 5 short videos, the expert advisors in creating this program. And at the bottom of the page, you will come across the sign up box. So in this sign up box, you will fill in all your details like your email address, your password, your name, last name, and all the other details that they are asking for. And once you click on it, you will be finishing your sign up process. That is going to take you to the next step. So once you're feeding all the details, you have to click on Start Your Awareness Campaign. Are you all with me so far? Okay, I'm going to wait for just a few more seconds. All right. So now moving on to our second step, which is the personalized step. When you come on the personalization page, you will find the option to add in your name, your role, your city, and your country. You will also find the options to put in your photograph, the name of your organization, and your organization logo. Please remember, the last three options are optional. Okay. Moving on to our personalization step. So as you see, you find the page where you have to put in your name, your role, upload your photograph, and your organization details. As I said, filling in your organization details and your organization logo is optional. Once you are happy with the details that you have fed in, you have the option to save your changes. And don't worry, if you face any difficulty or if you're not happy with the changes you've made, you can always come back to it. So that was our second step, which was the personalization page. Okay, have you all been able to complete your second step? I'm going to wait for a few seconds for all of y'all. All right, moving on to our third step, which is Start Your Awareness Campaign. In this third step, you will be directed to a page where you will find your unique link, which you can share with your parent community over WhatsApp or Facebook. So let's on move to our third step and a final step to become an influencer. All right, so now you have come to your page. And as you see, as you scroll down, you will find your unique link. Once you share this link, you can choose to share it through any social media platforms. As you can see here, we've shared it via WhatsApp. And that's how you will be inviting parents in your community to come and view the program. So have you all been able to complete all the 3 steps? I'm going to wait for a few seconds for you all to join in with me. Okay. All right. All right. After, let's all come back to the Zoom window now. I want you all with me over here in the Zoom meeting. Great. Don't worry about any of the steps. They're very simple, but in case if you're stuck with any of the steps, the handout book is being shared with you in the chat box right now, which is a step-to-step guide for you to understand how to become an influencer. Now, after you have shared your link with the parents, you must be wondering what the parent is going to view and how do they see the parent page. So this is the parent sign up page where they see who they were invited by. They find details about the program, which is the 5 short videos, our expert advisors, and various other details about the program. So all they have to do to access the 5 short videos is click on the registration button, fill in their details, and be able to view these videos. They will find the 5 short videos, which they can view as per their interest and as per their preference, but make sure that they view all the 5 videos to gain a complete insight about the program. All right, so now they have viewed it. You have sent out the link. Parents have registered. You must be wondering how many of them have actually registered for the program. So for this, when you go to your personalization page, you will find the hamburger icon, which is on the top left corner of your personalization page. Once you click on that, you will be able to view the programs tab. After clicking on which, you will find the influencer dashboard. So now once you scroll down and you see the influencer dashboard, you will find the number of parents who have registered for the program. You will also find the number of videos that the number of parents who have viewed the videos, and the final one, which is the program completion, which tells you about the number of parents who've completed all the 5 videos. Isn't this amazing? Because this number is nothing but the actual impact that you have created in the community by raising awareness among parents. So if you have any queries, please refer to our program handbook, which is being shared in the chat box right now. So moving on, Ms. Smita, are you ready to take in the first question from our Q&A segment?
Sure, Disha. Let's go.
All right. The first question is from Odo Hope and Furfa Gelshen. They are asking, how can maths be taught to children with ADHD, and how can we build interest in them for learning maths?
Okay. ADHD is this kind of concern that we highlighting in this particular tip that we will be discussing. Teaching children with ADHD is one thing, and building their interest. So let me split this into 2 parts. Teaching children with ADHD, like we know, anyways, the child has a lot of difficulty because of attention deficit and being hyperactive. We have to make sure that the kind of background that we choose is calm. Okay, never try and teach something new to a child with ADHD in a setup which is very noisy or distracting. Sometimes a lot of visuals around, a lot of things around is also distracting, even smell. So you have to make sure that the kind of environment you've chosen suits the need of the child. Then go ahead and give them simple instructions. See, because of their limited attention, they may not be able to understand the entire process, the steps that you're talking. So every time you are give them a chunk, bring back their attention to what you're teaching through techniques, again, give them steps and so on. So also try and divide. If it's a classroom thing that you're doing, try and divide the class into smaller groups. Maybe every group can have a buddy who can help if there are team members with ADHD in it. Okay. Because what happens is, in the flow, if the child has lost something that you're doing or saying, they can actually refer to the buddy or take the help of the buddy so that they don't get stuck there, and they get a chance to move on. You can also make your teaching aids, audio, multi thing, because all kind of learners should be able to focus. So sometimes children with ADHD, some children have very good visual skills, some have auditory memory, some can focus kinesthetically, when you do activities with them. So according to the need of the child, you can pick your teaching strategy or your aid. Coming to building their interest, like any other child, even for ADHD children, you have to, be patient. Make sure to jog their memory, find techniques wherein you can again and again do it. Don't, do the facts with them, the steps with them. Also use music if they like. Sometimes color brings their focus to what you're doing, the kind of questions you're doing, the kind of manipulatives you're using. So yes, these are different ways of building their interest.
Thank you, Ms. Smita, for these strategies. Moving on to our next question. Our next question is by Latha AD. And her question is, most of the children in primary grades forget concepts very soon. Are there any interesting techniques to help children remember these techniques?
Yes, you said Lata, okay. So yes, Lata, like we've seen right from the first webinar in the series, we need to invest in the teaching aids. We need to invest in our lesson plans. Okay, a lot of hard work needs to be done there from our end. Coming to the children part of it, when you make their experience enriching, okay, so automatically it's something that they cannot forget. See, you may have seen something, you can forget. Some may have heard it, they may forget. But when you are building your techniques around all the teaching areas, you're using all the visual, sound, maybe different techniques. Somewhere or the other, the child tends to retain what you've done and they'll be able to recollect. So that way you can be assured that yes, the child will be able to recollect what you're teaching. In smaller grades, we have the advantage. We can use a lot of games. We can use a lot of manipulatives. These days with the help of technology, maybe you can also use tech as a technique to build on the concepts and see that they don't forget. So make it interesting, invest in the teaching methods, make the experience enriching for them.
Yes, definitely. I think use of manipulatives and more concrete objects will definitely help them retain the concepts. Moving on, our next question is by Shriramya P, who is asking, my kid is just starting with multiplication. Can we teach him with math manipulatives? And does abacus help kids to improve their working memory?
Yes, these are different techniques, okay? QMath, abacus. So what they do eventually, if you see, they are working on the concept. So traditionally, the way we had learned when we were in classrooms and the way the children are learning now is way different. It's a positive thing that the teachers today and the parents, educators, everybody understand that we need to focus on the concepts and not just the steps or the process. So whatever we teach, we come up with such interesting ways that the child somewhere gets, experience of the concept. So while you're teaching your child multiplication, you said you can, yes, use other mediums also, because like I said, they are building on the concept. So know where the child gets confused. See, you may do multiplication in a different fashion than I do. What matters is the answer, okay, and the right technique. We understand the concept, what we're doing. So it's not rote thing that's coming out with. So please go ahead and use the other techniques that you think can work.
Thank you, Ms. Smita. Okay, moving on to our next question. This is by Blessing Nuti. My son dislikes counting. How can I help him with maths concepts?
Okay. So we hear this so often in the classroom during parent meeting, that yes, my child doesn't like numbers. What I would rather say is that let's not focus on too much and more ingrained this in a child's mind that you don't like numbers or you have a problem with number. What we otherwise need to do is that here, bring number as naturally as we can in their life. So basically teaching it in as simple as methods as we can. Sometimes it can be as simple that, the child is just not ready to count right now. That's why maybe the child isn't counting. Go and brush upon the number skills, the number sense skills, and check if the child knows all that it's needed for counting, like we've done in the first webinar. If you'll remember, we had even discussed, how do you bring the concepts to children? So once you've checked that, yes, the number sense is good, and then maybe you can go ahead and introduce numbers in everyday life. Like I was saying, in interesting ways and simple ways. Bring numbers to dining table, take it to a park when you're going, on holidays, when it comes to special occasions in the house, birthdays, anniversaries, milestone birthdays. So when you bring numbers in these forms, somehow count the, chocolates, or count the gifts, count the candle, how many to put on the cake. They start counting indirectly, not even realizing that it is a task. It comes as a process. So yes, it is somewhere, somewhat difficult in the initial process. If you get stuck with just the beginning, you've just begun and you think the child has difficulty with counting, don't give up. Try these techniques, make it as simple as you can. Exposure, number talks, like I said, using number in everyday, day-to-day life will maybe help them get over this phase, and it will take you ahead.
Absolutely. So making number a part of our everyday life from the very beginning is the key to start liking maths in the beginning. Okay, moving on to our next question by Avni Khekar. She's asking, what does the word schema mean in math?
Okay. So schema in any thing, is a diagram. You can say it's a picture, it's a format. So in math, we have different schemas. Even an equation can be a schema. The kind of, the diagrams we saw for multiplication and division can be a schema. What other example can I give you? When we are even talking about number lines, number bonds, the way you write them. So it's nothing but a structure, a defined structure that we can use to introduce a concept. Even in science, like when we're doing diagrams, we're doing body parts or, the flowers, we have schemas as in the diagrams, a structure that's set, which can be used. You can make your own schemas, your own diagrams, like we have mnemonics. So it's just giving a pictorial representation of something that you mean, what you're talking about, or the concept to the child.
And I'm sure having this schema also helps helps the child being more organized as well in the learning process. Okay, moving on to our next question. By Michael Cobb, how do you break down the concepts of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division for children with special needs?
Okay, so all that you've seen so far in the webinar is where the steps. So let me revise it for you. We begin with the prerequisites, okay? Teach them concepts that are needed for whatever you're teaching, be it addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. Once you've done or you've taught them the concepts, the prerequisites, we will move on to introducing the concept through concrete ways, through manipulators, hands-on activities, games. Once you've done the concept forming stage, you've helped the child understand, experience the concept, then move on to, along with this, maybe you can also teach them the vocab, okay? The vocabulary, the symbols that are to do with that particular operation that you're teaching. Move on slowly to the representational stage, wherein you use a lot of pictures, pictorial worksheets, and images to help a child solve. And finally, to the abstract stage, wherein you give them numbers, the equations as it is, and expect them to solve it. Throughout the process, remember, make it interesting, make it child-friendly, make it as appropriate as you can, depending upon the need of the child.
Moving on to our next question by Hussaina Ibrahim Tanko, which is some of the most effective techniques for younger kids to teach math concepts, especially tables?
Sure. So tables, the only way to not teach tables is memorization. This is a technique, but it comes after teaching, which is what I want to repeat here. For something like multiplication tables, we've discussed that first teach them the concept behind it. So show them what's happening in multiplication. It can be like, through arrays that we saw, through the number bonds. We show them that what exactly multiplication looks like. Repeated addition hai, we also have subtraction, So once you've shown them, then maybe you can use simple facts like the simple facts like we did 0, multiplying by 1, multiplying by 10, multiplying by 11. So these are simple facts. So when you've, done or help them explain, understand the concept of what happens when you multiply or divide a number by 1, 0, 10, 11, then certain facts are done. Now maybe you can move to teaching them the commutative property, wherein they understand that the order of the number don't matter. So 2 times 5 and 5 times 2 gives you the same product, the same result. So this also helps in the process of learning multiplication tables. We also saw that patterns sometimes can help. So highlight the pattern. So in 5's table, maybe like, you either have 5 in the end or 0, or 10's table, what happens? So highlight the pattern of the table that you're teaching. And then you can also show them the tricks, the finger trick that we did for bigger numbers. Like I said, there are finger tricks for 6, 7, and 8 tables too. You all can go research on it, learn it, and do it with your child. It's fun way. And trust me, it's like magic that they see it's happening in the fingers and they're able to get the answer. So that this motivates them. Maybe not always finger becomes a technique, but yes, in case of doubt, they can check if yes, it's the right answer after they've recollected from their memory. Skip counting is one of the techniques that if you use, yes, the child can definitely learn certain tables fast. So these are ways that you all can try.
Surely. Moving on to our next question by Ibrahim Jibrin. how can we teach division and multiplication of 3 by 3 digits number, which is the most easiest technique?
Okay, so see, 3 by 3 itself, when you are sure that you've reached that stage, begin only when you're confident that your child has mastered 1 digit, 2 digit. Coming to 3 digit, maybe the schema that we saw, like, a diagram, a format can be introduced and then help the child fill it. I also remember using crossing out. So once you've finished once, and you've moved on to multiplying with the second digit, the tens digit, and from the 10th digit, when you move on to the hundredths place, remember to strike off everything else which is there, as in the carry forward or the borrow that you've written. So this clears a lot of mess and the child doesn't get confused. Also, color coding is one of a technique. So maybe for one's place, use one color pen, teach them, show them, and then for the second digit, use the other color, and for the third digit. So these are simple tricks, but are definitely something when you are doing the big long process of 3 digit multiplication. It's handy. It makes your task easier compared to, if you're not using any of these techniques. Also go slow is one advice.
Okay. Now coming on to our next question by Rolika Agarwal. How can we teach a 5 years old concepts of changing tens, like from 10, 20, 30? So skip counting in tens basically.
5-year-old, so it's like use games, be a child. In some of them learn it like when you make a group game, make them set every time a person has to say 10, maybe they have to skip or do a high five, or you have to find on a worksheet. So what I'm saying is that use games, use worksheets, sometime even dice. So, and sometimes songs. I mean, with a 5-year-old, yes, how can I not, use song? So, song is something like they love singing and repeating it a number of times. So, if you again research or Google, there'll be a lot of songs to do with counting in tens. So, use songs. Trust me, nothing works as good as a song for a child of 5-year-old.
Absolutely. And that sounds so much fun as well. Okay, moving on to our next question by Esther. How could you suggest some techniques to remember formulae of multiplication and division?
Okay, visual aids and I'll say mnemonics. Okay, so when you have these mnemonics placed on the worksheet that the child is solving or on the table somewhere, it is like a cheat. It is like a thing that's there and they can always refer to if they have missed. Okay, there are a lot of cheat sheets or facts that can be handy and that can be placed on the child's table again. We keep a lot of stuff like these on the table because, see, nobody wants to demotivate or make a child, feel frustrated as in stuck if they are not able to. So while you begin until the child is not confident, has not got the process, isn't able to recollect the steps, use flashcards, use tricks handy, as in cheat sheets and these kind of things visually placed there, or you can even hint. So when you do this, it becomes easier for the child. Mnemonics does wonders. You can make your own. So make one with the child. If you think the child will not be able to learn or the child is forgetting what you've taught, make one with the child. So there's no rule for that. Make something which is easy and the child can relate to, connect, and recollect.
Surely, and getting the child involved and deciding what strategies help them better is the best way to help them remember the concepts. Okay, now moving on to our last question. This is by Sheila Victor, who's asking, during early years of the child, he is able to understand the topics because of the use of various methods and manipulatives. But as the child grows older, how do we help them with the advanced level concepts?
See, once you're sure, while you're doing math with children when they're young, focus on the base, make it that strong that at least what you've done, even if it's a bit of it, it is something with the child is something that a child understands, the child is able to use. the concepts, and the child is able to reproduce, as in what you've taught. Coming to skills in the higher grades, yes, math gets difficult, but we have all the methods that we discussed, okay? Even you do your research when it comes to topics in higher grades, prep yourself, because see, every child have their own strength and difficulty. So there's no set pattern or a technique that you've used with one child, you will be sure. So even if you've had experience in teaching, you've been in the field, maybe you will still need to do your bit of research, considering that, yes, the history or the past of the child, that the child is good in so and so, this technique is worked well. Accordingly, use your strategies. And the last thing that we can resort to is getting an assessment done, and then make sure if the child is certified, as in the child definitely has dyscalculia, or the child has any difficulty for that matter, and if the board agrees, the school agrees, we can go ahead and give child certain concessions. Instead of frustrating the child, we can make maybe math one level down. Maybe we can skip a certain difficult part of a topic that the child is doing, maybe just have the initial bit of it, give extra time, have calculators if the board is again allowing. So all this, the school needs to decide, considering the certification and the board rules. So this comes in picture. This may give you some bit of relief, but remember, don't focus on the goal. Try and work on the steps. Every step that the child is achieving is a big thing. So see, even if it is some part of it, the child is able to do, and move ahead.
Thank you so much, Ms. Smita, for patiently answering all the questions that were posed by the participants. Thank you, participants, for being so engaging throughout the workshop. The feedback link is being shared in the chat box currently. Please take some time out and fill in the feedback so that we can improve on our workshop experience for you all. We are also sharing links for the takeaways, for the event takeaways. Before we end for today, I will quickly update you all about the upcoming sessions. We have our session, the next workshop is on 19th May by Ms. Shivani Vadwa on how to work with parents whose children face academic difficulties. And the next one is on 26th May by Madam Geeta Gopi on how to teach time and money to children with special needs. Kindly remember, these workshops will go live at 12:30 p.m. Nigeria time, 4:30 p.m. India time, and 7 p.m. Singapore, Philippines time. Do share the care and forward the links to people in your community who you think will benefit from it. Thank you so much once again, Ms. Smita. Before we end for today, could you please share some few words with all our participants?
Sure, Disha. It was beautiful, connecting with all you audience here on this platform. Like Disha said sometime back, we all can be influencers. So even if we are not able to teach the entire math curriculum to a child, we have to make sure that at least when a math problem comes in front of a child, the child doesn't worry, the child isn't scared, the child at least should smile and give it a try. That should be our aim.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'd like to quickly remind all the participants that in case you all were stuck and got confused with any of the steps to become an influencer, please find the link for the program's handbook that is being shared in the chat box, because this is going to help and stay as a step-to-step guide for you to become an influencer. A big bye to all of you from Team Ability until we meet again. Thank you.